Hello and welcome to the College Investor Audio Show. So glad you are here today. Today we take a look at this question. Can you take out more student loan debt than you actually need? We do have some really good thoughts on this. However, just want to remind you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button on the podcast. That way you're always up to date on all the latest that we post. And we do post new content all the time in here. You can also check out thecollegeinvestor.com on any topic in the podcast from the past however many years we've been doing this. I lost count. You can find tons and tons of resources for you and your family at thecollegeinvestor.com. Okay, now let's get to it. Here we go. First, let's talk about student loan debt real quick. For a whole lot of people, pursuing a college degree represents a pathway to personal growth, career advancement, and of course, lifelong success. But the rising costs of tuition, fees, and all the living expenses have made financing a college education difficult, to say the least. The fact remains that most of us will apply for student loans at some point in our lives. And while loans provide essential financial support at an important time, they do come with significant responsibility and long-term implications. So how much do you really need for this? And how much should you accept? Today, we explore the pressing issues facing today's college students, the impact of excessive student loan debt, and how to avoid borrowing more than you need. Making improved financial decisions can truly set yourself up for success later, like real success. And student loans are a great example of this. So, listen on to start building good financial habits. First, we take a look at the recent trends in student loan debt. Student loan debt has grown tremendously over the past 2 decades and is now one of the top types of consumer debt across the country. This shouldn't surprise you at all when you learn that the cost of tuition has more than doubled in the past 4 decades. Who sets the price of tuition, anyway? Well, in a lot of cases, the institution's local governing board sets tuition rates. But there has also been an increased demand for college education across the board, and these factors, combined with less government funding and increasing overhead, contribute to higher costs for you to pursue higher education. Student loan debt in the U.S. comes out to $1.7 trillion. And while the most recent years have actually experienced a slight decline in student loan debt, more than half of our students continue to graduate with all that debt. In fact, the current average balance is $37,718 upon graduation. That's more than my first year's salary. And the average U.S. household owes $55,347 in student debt. The average household. Excuse my pun, but it really pays to know what you're agreeing to when you sign for your student loans. Factors that add to student loan debt, and there are several of them that contribute to students taking out more loans than they need. And of course, it doesn't help that lenders often offer more than enough to cover tuition expenses. Here are some influencing factors to keep in mind so you can borrow responsibly. Number 1, overestimating your expenses. Yeah, students tend to overestimate their college expenses when they don't know the true cost of attendance, misjudge all the living expenses, or just forget to consider additional income or cost-saving opportunities that they have. Number 2, social and peer pressure. Just like in all aspects of life, peer pressure can play a significant role in your borrowing decisions due to just the desire to fit in, maintain the same lifestyle as the people around you, and keep up with new spending habits. The Joneses. Number 3, limited financial aid. There may be a number of reasons you find yourself unable to qualify for federal grants, university scholarships, or some other forms of financial aid, and instead turn to student loans to fill all those financial gaps. 4, misinformation. There's a whole host of marketing tactics used by lenders, surprise, surprise, to encourage students to borrow more than they need or can afford. I cannot overstate the importance of establishing your financial literacy before borrowing student loans. Number 5, emergencies. Lastly, unforeseen circumstances or unexpected expenses can prompt students to borrow additional loans, quickly compounding your debt balance if not managed responsibly. Lenders love this. So the magical question, how much can I borrow? It's true, you can take out more student loan debt than you need. But should you? Student loans are a gateway to receiving your degree. Yeah, but you want to make sure your loans are manageable. Fortunately for your future, financially savvy self, there is a limit to how much you can borrow. Your limit for federal loans depends on a couple of things, whether you can be claimed as a dependent, your current year in school, and the type of loan you take. As of 2024, undergraduates can borrow a maximum of $9,500 to $12,500 each year, or a total of $57,500. Graduate students can borrow up to $20,500 each year, or $138,500 in total, including undergraduate loans. Yikes! That's like a small house. Anyway, the maximum amount available to borrow through private student loans, of course, varies by lender, and you may even be able to borrow the amount that matches your cost of attendance. But again, borrowing the maximum amount just because it's available isn't often the best choice, mostly because student loan debt poses significant financial responsibility until it's completely paid off. Remember, while subsidized loans include specific agreements, like where the U.S. Department of Education pays interest on your loans while you're in school and for the first 6 months after leaving, direct loans start accruing interest when they're dispersed. Either way, you're going to want to factor all of this in the additional cost over the life of the loan. Here are the consequences of excessive student loan debt. Okay, the bad news, here it comes. Excessive student loan debt can cause undue stress for borrowers well after graduation. It's worth discussing those impacts ahead of time so you have an idea of how your financial well-being may be altered down the road. Hopefully, understanding these unintended consequences before they occur will help you make informed borrowing decisions now. Here are some of the common side effects of excessive student loan debt. There are 5 of them we're going to get into today. Number 1, financial strain. This is the most obvious consequence of having student loan debt, or really debt of any kind. Having a high monthly payment quickly eats away at your total purchasing power, and it can become difficult to meet other financial obligations. Of course, the interest accrued on loans often means borrowers pay back far more than the amount they originally received, which can further stunt your progress toward other financial goals. Number 2, delayed milestones. Most of us do have actual life goals beyond school and work, including getting married, starting a family, owning a home. But high debt payments can pose challenges to building up your savings, covering wedding expenses, which means more credit cards, or affording the down payment on a home. And number 3, financial health. Unfortunately, missed or late loan payments can damage your credit score for sure, and it can do it overnight. Having a low credit score in the U.S. signals to lenders you're risky, which makes it more difficult to obtain new loans. Credit cards, well, not that big of a deal. Cut those up anyway. Or even favorable interest rates. Number 4, mental and emotional stress. Any of the items that we mentioned is enough to take on a major toll on your mental and emotional well-being. Combined, the stress and anxiety of managing excessive debt can feel just a bit overwhelming, to say the least. And number 5, limited post-grad opportunities. Yeah, less critical, but nonetheless important to be aware of. Having high levels of undergraduate loan debt may deter you from pursuing new post-grad opportunities. It's a big deal. A common feeling here is the pressure to prioritize higher-paying jobs over other goals or positions you're interested in. All that said, here's how to avoid borrowing more than you need. The prospect of student loan debt can be daunting, but there are several strategies to keep in mind that will help reduce your total borrowing amount and allow you to make informed financial decisions. It all begins with planning for what you'll actually need. Writing out your budget is the first step to responsibly managing your expenses and avoiding excessive borrowing. Carefully track your expected income and expenses each year to identify how much you'll need to cover the necessities. Then, find areas where you can cut costs to prioritize spending on education essentials. Consider downloading a budget app on your phone so you can track your goals and spending. Next, try to maximize your financial aid package by taking advantage of all of the options available to you. That includes applying for federal aid, grants, scholarships, and all the other tuition assistance programs offered by your university, employer, or a community organization. For example, a lot of small banks actually offer scholarships to local applicants. Receiving even an additional $2,500 reduces your total debt burden. Another common tactic to reduce debt is finding part-time employment or enrolling in a work-study program. Any added income whatsoever is going to offset the overall financial burden to you, and you'll gain valuable job experience too. And lastly, make sure you're borrowing responsibly. Before accepting any loan offer, read it. Actually read the terms and conditions. I know, nobody does, but do it and pay special attention to interest rates, repayment plans, and loan forgiveness options. You can even go a step further by estimating your future earning potential and your ability to repay loans after graduation. But really, most importantly, determine what you absolutely need to borrow to meet your needs right now, and try to refrain from accepting anything more than that. Nothing more than that. All right, so here's the takeaway. Student loan debt is a complex and highly personal topic, we know. Receiving the financial means to pursue higher education has far-reaching implications for your personal growth, your career advancement, and lifelong success. At the same time, though, accepting excessive student loans can have unintended consequences on your future goals, your health, and financial well-being. With college tuition on the rise, it's extremely important that you understand the basics of student loan agreements, make informed decisions, and actively manage your loan debt. Prioritizing financial literacy, maximizing financial aid, and seeking alternative financing options are 3 ways to minimize the impacts of student loan debt after graduation. And above all, don't forget to plan for the future. Your future self will definitely thank you. That is our show for today. We really hope it was helpful to you, just to kind of think about things a little bit differently. If you did find it helpful, please feel free to share this with friends and family, whoever needs it. We would greatly appreciate that. Also, hit the subscribe button on the podcast and follow us all over social media. We're everywhere you are. Just search for The College Investor and you'll find us. Thanks again for stopping by today, and we will talk to you again real soon.